Persephone's eyes scanned the bathroom shelf. Prozac, Paxil, Zoloft, Celexa, and Lexapro. She grabbed the nearest bottle and shook out a few pills. It was not long after she had swigged down the pills with a mouthful of water when she heard several loud thuds descending from the meandering staircase. Boom! Badum! Not again, Jordan, she exclaimed. She fled down the narrow, snaking passageway to attend to her sobbing child. As Persephone glanced down at her son, she noticed several new bruises that had bloomed within the last few seconds, along with old yellowing ones. She hugged him tightly, promising him that it would be all right, but she knew it wouldn't be. Persephone's life had not been normal since he was born. She had never expected the extent to which a 7-pound baby would change her life. Although the child was conceived out of wedlock, Persephone vowed to keep the child. The father of her child abandoned her, leaving her hysterical. She knew she couldn't put the child up for adoption because she had once been an orphan. She remembered the dimly lit, cracked walls of the orphanage and the unwelcoming faces of her foster parents. Despite these horrid flashbacks, the one that irked her the most was wondering why she was abandoned by her birth parents. She made a promise to herself to never make her parents' mistake. Persephone looked at Jordan's glazed eyes and couldn't help but detect that somewhere beyond those pearly tears was a lost child. Although Jordan seemed healthy a few years into his childhood, he began to develop temper tantrums that would last for hours into the dark night. Weeks went by where he didn't notice Persephone at all, and he became less focused on his physical surroundings and eventually slipped past into a world of his own. Persephone wondered what went through his mind, but she knew she'd never know, because Jordan was a diagnosed schizophrenic. While tending to Jordan had been normal for the first few years, Persephone found it more difficult to care for him after he developed his mental condition. The seasons changed, and so did she. The autumn leaves fell through the crisp air and decorated the earth with warm colors. Weeks flew by, and the air grew more brisk and bitter, much like Persephone's heart. Her soul became blackened and clouded with resentment. After a few more years of forceful attempts to cram medicine down his throat, she grew tired of her son and viewed him as a burden rather than a gift. All of the stress of having piles upon piles of medical bills and a schizophrenic child had taken a toll on Persephone. She soon became depressed and was advised to consume medication to aid with her weak, frail condition. Swish, swish, gulp. Another pill down. Persephone glanced at herself in the mirror and sighed. She picked up her cell phone and dialed her friend's number. "Hey, Perseph, what's up?" asked Emma. "God, I can't keep living like this. Jordan has been throwing temper tantrums for a whole week, and I can't take this stress anymore. I'm running on 1 hour of sleep and 5 cups of coffee." "Geez, I don't know what to say, but listen to this. I've been doing a bit of research for you, and you won't believe what I found. A new drug has been invented, and the doctor is doing trial runs on a few kids with Jordan's disease. Oh, you know how I feel when you call it a disease. I hate it. It makes me feel so different and isolated from everyone else with normal kids. Do you know how much I envy them?" asked Persephone in an agitated tone. "Well, just sign up for the trial. You never know what might happen. Here's the address to the doctor's house. I've already phoned him, and he suggests that it would be best to meet there than at the official doctor's clinic, since this is part of his own experiment. I suppose he doesn't want the other doctors to know about it yet, since they might take credit for his own research. Anyway, I gotta go. Let me know how it all goes." Persephone clicked the phone off and grabbed her car keys. She took Jordan and buckled him up in the seat. His eyes were emotionless and dead. Jordan's blank expression reminded her of a pretty doll, whose inner feelings could only be expressed through the windows of its soul. A doll that needed constant care, a doll that always needed to have playtime. For some reason, this disturbing image horrified Persephone as she slid into the driver's seat, her hand gripping the steering wheel. The drive on the way to the doctor's clinic was full of hope. If she could cure his disease once and for all, they could finally live a normal life, rather than their current isolated lives. As she glanced into her rear-view mirror to check on Jordan, Persephone thought, "Maybe we can finally be a normal family. Yeah, that sounds good. I can't believe I've lived in isolation for years. I don't know how to feel. Ashamed? Ashamed because my son is a lunatic who is always judged wherever we go? Ashamed because I am also judged based on my son's behavior? Well, hopefully today will change all of that. After today, we'll never have to be alone again. She took a quick glance out of the side window as the car droned on. The periwinkle sky began to melt with the darkening clouds. The rain clouds looked as if they were from a hurricane, green with shades of gray and specks of black. She looked forward to face the dashboard again. The luscious greenery diminished to reveal a muddy swamp, with the backbones of trees casting shadows against the sky. The road transitioned into a cobblestone pathway. It began as a speck on the darkening horizon, and slowly grew bigger as she drove closer. A gigantic castle loomed before her very eyes. Crumbling, fierce, and fiery gargoyle heads guarded the castle from above. The dark forest behind it seemed to conceal little critters and strange happenings. Persephone swore she saw something run through the trees, but dismissed it when it vanished like smoke. Persephone switched car gears and parked her vehicle. As she carried Jordan inside, the smell of formaldehyde embedded within the dusty carpet filled her nose. Although the doctor greeted her with kindness, something about the way he carried himself made him untrustworthy. He was a handsome man, his eyes a deep, semi-sweet chocolate. His beautiful eyes were accompanied with a charming smile. Each fingernail was precisely filed to a soft edge. Persephone wasn't fooled by that dashing smile. Something about it wasn't normal. Perhaps it was because his smile curled up on one side, leaving a snide grin on his face. She sat down on the wooden chair and propped Jordan onto her lap. "Good day, Miss Woods. So we both know why you're here, so I'll get right down to business if you don't mind," said Dr. Seftis. He strode over to the cabinet and withdrew a small vial of liquid. He sat back down next to them and said, "Here is the trial drug for Jordan. It will make him more tolerable during his tantrums, and it will help diminish his hallucinations over time." "Thank you so much, Doctor. How much do I owe?" inquired Persephone. "Free of charge for you, my dear. However, please do keep in mind that everything comes with a price. Please know that and do not forget what I've told you. When you feed Jordan that mouthful of liquid, you must ensure that he drinks every single drop, or there will be consequences," he said urgently. "Consequences? Of what sort?" asked Persephone anxiously. "I cannot tell you, for the reactions are difficult for each child." "Please, sir, you must know what has happened to the other children. How did some of them react? Were the parents shaken up? What is in this special drug? What makes it different from the medicine Jordan already has?" she inquired. "Look, ma'am, this is entirely confidential information. I cannot release the effects of this drug until more trial runs have taken place. After that, I can confidently determine the lasting effects of the medicine. I can't base that data merely off of 1 or 2 children. Surely you understand," he whispered in a hushed voice. "Thank you, sir. Good day to you as well." Persephone bid Dr. Seftis farewell and went home. After settling back in at home, Persephone looked at the vial once more. Its contents appeared black in color and glistened with the hint of something mysterious. She pulled the cork off the petite bottle. Plunk! "Now, Jordan, please listen. I need you to sit still." "That's right. Good boy, just sit like that." Her fingers pried open his hesitant mouth, and she carefully poured the dark syrup into his mouth. Instinctively, Jordan spewed the bitter-tasting liquid from his mouth, and it dribbled down his chin and was soaked up by the rug. "Gah! Are you kidding me?" Persephone yelled, covered in spots of the black medicine. She quickly cleaned Jordan up and set him down for a nap. She collapsed in her bed from exhaustion, not giving a second thought about what the doctor had told her. In her dream, Persephone entered something she had never experienced. Utopia. Her house had freshly painted walls, the kitchen a bright yellow, the living room a vibrant lime green. As she strode down the smooth wooden staircase, she realized that it was newly polished. She was the 3rd step away from the floor when something made her stop in her tracks. She was frozen in time. For the first time, she heard the words, "I love you." Jordan's voice echoed throughout the house as he exclaimed those words of affection. For the first time in his life, he meant and knew what he was saying. He was walking by himself up to her. Her ears took in each precious step he took. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter. Persephone couldn't believe her own eyes. When she saw Jordan as a normal child, she knew that she could never go back to her restrictive lifestyle. She yearned to be free from the shackles of isolation and depression that bound her to Jordan. Persephone awoke from hearing a blood-curdling scream. Jordan's scream. As she raced to his room, thoughts of dread filled her mind. She saw him lying on the floor motionless. His hand was a pale white, and his eyes held no emotion. However, as she looked closer, she saw something in his eyes. She saw her eyes. The eyes that held the same sorrow when she was in the orphanage. Persephone realized that she had risked his life with the potion, despite knowing that there might have been a price to pay. The price was the death of her child. Acting in haste had made her make poor decisions, and her last thoughts were, "The apple doesn't fall far from the tree," as she opened the pill cabinet once more and glanced inside.